Today at Nugget Garage, we get the truck back together. We're going to get the turbo on, we're going to clean the injectors out, get all them sorted out and put them back in on the manifold. We'll get the exhaust on and all the other little bits and pieces. We'll get the dash made up and installed. Scott will have to configure all that kind of stuff, and then we'll see if it can make some noise.
So the first thing to go back on is the turbo white pipe, one we tarted up in a previous episode. It just bolts on the two 2-bolt flanges. We've actually had problems in the past with these gaskets. Probably look for a multi-layer stainless Subaru gasket or something, see if that'll sort that issue out later. So this time around we're going to run a bit more boost, so we figured we'd upgrade the worm hose clamps to these T-bolt style stainless clamps. In the past I've used these up to 35 pounds of boost, haven't had a problem with them. Nothing worse than losing races to blown intercooler pipes. So we're just running normal Dex 3 ATF in this. Always done it, doesn't seem to be a problem. I think you're supposed to run Toyota Type 4, but it can be a bit hard to get in places, so we'll just use Dex 3. And so ethanol or E85 is a really good fuel for making power. There's not a whole lot of disadvantages to it other than fuel system maintenance. A car that's been recently converted from 98 say to ethanol will clean, or the ethanol will clean the fuel tank out, it'll clean all the lines out. You basically got to have probably a decent sized serviceable filter on it, and you'll have to probably clean it 3 times in the first month. So the truck's injectors have been sitting out in the open now for a month, so I definitely have to clean them. We'll chuck them in the cleaner now, get some more work done, and we'll come back to them later. The 1UZ engine uses a valley mounted starter motor, so it's always a good idea to double check its functionality before you put it in, because once it's in there you've got to pull quite a lot apart to get it back out. Luckily we have a a auto sparky near my workshop, and he hooked me up with a freebie. Thanks, John. We pulled it apart and found that a couple of the contactors were actually worn, so he's given it a bit of a birthday, and yeah, we'll put it back in. So we use a Peterson inline fuel filter in the truck. It's probably the smallest element that I'd recommend for an ethanol car. You can see from what Chris is doing here that there's quite a lot of crap in there. So it's always a good idea to continuously check your fuel system on the E85. With the truck I use it as a daily driver. I run it pretty lean on cruise, so if the filter starts to block up, I kind of hear it lean hunting when I'm driving around smoothly. I don't have any engine protection on that old EMS ECU, so if I take it out to an event, I pull the filter, clean the injectors. It's cheap insurance. So I've already pre-cranked the engine to get oil pressure. We've checked the fuel system for weeks. All the fluids are topped up. Ready to give it a kick in the guts. See what happens.
That's what you.
So a friend of mine, Timmy, tuned his Bluebird for him in exchange for this old racepack UDX dash. The main reason we want to use it in the truck is, well, that autometer catalogue that was hanging up the shifter was a pain. The racepack UDX street version, has indicators, high beams. I can put a reluctor style speed input into it. Also, obviously I have a tacho fuel level that's configurable. Anyway, I'm going to make a bracket, get it mounted up, and we're almost done.